Robert asked me to make a video about how I felt about the use of profanity and language in hip hop music. And I've been a hip hop uh, junkie and addict for uh, as long as I can remember. As long I remember the first time I heard something that would be considered hip hop music. I was probably about 6 or 7. Um, it was actually very clean. There was no profanity, but I really just loved what it was. I can't really explain to you. It's like when you lose time in something, when you forget about time, then you know it's something that you love. And I remember listening to that music and losing all track of time. So that was something that I really enjoyed. Um, Hip hop, one facet of it is language as art, and if we really want to look at language, then we have to think about what exactly language is. And uh, it's sound that comes out of our mouth, but really it's the intention behind the words that we speak, because we know this because language is fluid. It changes over time. Word meanings change over time. Word interpretations, how words are pronounced. I mean, if you study the etymology of the English language, then you can go back and see how words are just shaped and reshaped, and it's a very fluid function of our intent, of our consciousness. We can use one word in 100 different ways, and it can mean 100 different things depending on how we say it, who we say it to, where we say it. Um, Therefore, profanity is a construct of self. It's not a construct. Words don't carry ill meaning. If I say a profane word, it's not, the word itself isn't profane. It is the understanding of the person hearing the word or the intention of the person saying the word that makes it profane. So really, profanity is a construct of our own. It's how we perceive something. So if we really want to think about profanity in hip hop music, we have to understand our interpretation of language shapes our understanding of what is said in hip hop music. I guess what I'm really trying to say is that one of the beauties of hip hop music is that it's taken the English language and explored the possibilities of it. Slang from hip hop has made its way into mainstream America. There's not a single person that I know that doesn't use some sort of slang terminology that was developed through hip hop culture. Hip hop has changed language, it's redefined language. Your house is your crib, um, your cell phone's your jack. Like, if you're not doing anything, you're chilling. If you want to bring attention to your friends, it's a shout out. Like, all those different things, people are using that, they understand those terms for the intent behind them. So we have to look at the language in that way. Some profanity is meant to be vulgar. Some profanity is meant for emphasis. Some profanity really fills in a blank to allow your imagination to go to work. If I say, man, I went into this room and there was a whole bunch of crap or the S word all around it, I don't have to describe the fact that there's clothes or trash or whatever. You fill in that particular blank. So our intention behind the word is what it is, or our imagination allows it to be. And thus is poetry at the end of the day. A poet, all they have to do is write a poem. They don't have to interpret it. No art has to be explained by the person who creates art. Art is created so that it can be interpreted by the person that perceives the art. So when we talk about profanity, we have to really understand that if we look down upon it, then what we're doing is we're stepping upon a cultural pedestal, which is somewhat arrogant, because you are assuming that your own understanding is the only understanding of how something can be perceived. And until you take a step back and say, here, let me analyze this, let me absorb this for what it is. And if profanity is used to be profane, then I can choose not to consume that product. But if you recognize that maybe it's not there for that, maybe it's there for emphasis, Maybe it's there because they've changed the word to mean something else. The history of the English language is the history of change. As a matter of fact, if you're listening to this video and you live in the United States, you don't even speak English, you speak American. If you go to England, you probably won't understand what people in deep parts of England actually are saying or speaking. So the language has changed even then. And if we're talking about a culture that was born from inner cities, we're talking about descendants of former slaves who had to learn how to understand and interpret a language under circumstances that many of you have never, ever, ever experienced, then how that language is then shaped and twisted and rearranged, it takes a life of its own. And maybe the art in it is for you to see and understand all the different meanings and all the different ways that that language has changed. So I guess I've spoken enough on this, really. That's just my initial thoughts. I'm sorry, I'm a little sick right now. I'm a little sniffly. But my name is Damani Harrison, and I just wanted to respond to a really beautiful question from a really beautiful individual, Robert Shelton. Thank you very much. And I hope you like it.